Hi, in this video we're going to look at what we recommend as a way of processing members when they check in at a major tournament or carnival. The concept here is that you have a very large 1-day, 2-day or even 5-day event, and each morning the match officials are required to check in with you. So starting at My Competitions, I'm going to go to the admin portal for this competition. And I will stress that these steps are being performed by the competition admin or competition coordinator. From here, I'll navigate to the members management section. And now what we would typically do is search for the member when they arrive. In this case, I'm just going to search for all and demonstrate using one of the members here. Now let's say Alison has shown up and is checking in with us. The first thing to do is actually verify that Alison's details are correct in the system, making sure that you have the correct contact information for them and that there's any other registration information fields that you've collected are up to date. Obviously, you will use your discretion as to what you need to check there. The most important thing to check at this point is that any availability that you're tracking, particularly if you allow members to enter their own availability, is correct. In this case, we see that Alison is available for the entire day, but in discussing with her, she may actually inform me that she needs to take a break around lunchtime, and in which case I will just update the availability as needed, or maybe she needs to finish earlier and cannot do the last 3 time slots. Now there's a section below where we can provide our profiling of the match official, where we determine kind of what matches or divisions we want to allocate to them if we're using the Intelligent Appointments platform. Obviously, this is something that you would use your discretion around. Potentially, it's not something that you divulge too deeply with the match officials, but it is there, and you may actually qualify with them. Say if you're talking to a junior referee, you may actually check with them as to what the highest division is that they're comfortable refereeing at this tournament. In some cases, I've had referees that can only referee under 10s, so in which case I will check that their profile is set appropriately. After updating the registration, the next thing is to make sure we check them in. Now in Sportsmate, we have the ability to check a person in and out of the system. This can be opened up so that the individual can do this themselves via their mobile device, but as competition admins and coordinators, we also have the ability to do this. And we strongly recommend using this feature, especially if you have multiple people coordinating the event so that you are all in line with when people are checked in and when they're checked out. So in this case, I'm just going to simply check Alison in. And that allows us to run reports to see that these members are actually here. Now, the other step, if at the end of the day when Alison needs to leave, I would then come in and I can check them out. Now that we've looked at how to check members in and validate their details upon their arrival at an event, we can use that information to make sure that any allocations that we've made for those members to games are likely to be successful, as in those people are here that we've allocated games. This is especially important if you've done any pre-allocation where the tournament might be either having the full day pre-allocated ahead of time, or when you've only allocated a certain number of rounds ahead of time and to allow for a fluid kind of appointment system throughout the day. Now the report that you can use for this is Appointments versus Availability Report. Jumping to this report, I'm going to select my day that I'm interested in, and this will give me a list. Now, I am going to make some adjustments to the view here. I'm going to turn off this group by match official team because I'm not actually using match official teams at this point. And at this point, I do also like to call out I have hide 0 availability hidden, so anyone with no availability for this day is hidden from the report. I can also change time slots and other filters. Now, as you can see, we can take a look at who has availability and also has a any appointments that day. So we can see that Alison Graham has a appointment. We also know Charles has an appointment, first time slot, and then there's some other appointments throughout the day. Now, the way that we can correlate the check-in information to the appointment information is by turning on the filter for the column check-in status. Immediately, we can see that Alison is checked in, and we have appointment there for Field 1 boys match. Now, we can also see that Charles, who is on a game at first time slot, is not currently checked in. At this point there, we could use that information to contact Charles and validate whether or not that person is actually at the venue yet or on their way, and make adjustments as needed. So you may decide that you actually want to reallocate that game to someone else that has checked in. At this point, we haven't checked in other people, but imagine that they are. And the other alternative is that you then also, what we would suggest is, as you get further into the day, anyone that is actually not checked in, go and actually wipe out their availability for that day. That means that they will show up in your error reporting when you're doing match appointments, where you can check for any appointment errors. It also means that they won't show up in this report as being available, so you won't accidentally be looking for them to appoint to games. It also means the intelligent appointment system won't try to attempt to appoint them to games, which is a even more important kind of factor. So usually we suggest doing that around, at the end of the day, it's up to you, but usually by the second or third time slot, you have a fair idea as to who may be arriving. But again, it depends on the size and how your tournament is operating. You may have different shifts in which that makes it a little bit more complicated. The other thing that we can point out just while we're here is that we can also see that Adam is actually allocated a game in the last time slot here, but there's an X beside that allocation. That means that Adam is not available at that time, and so we would have to make some adjustments there. Now, that's where we can use our appointment error reporting. And so let's take a look at how this process would work. Let's say that we realize that Charles hasn't arrived yet, and we want to actually correct this. We would then use the members management report, page, which I'm going to use just in a separate window to do this quickly. And actually, let's use that to look for Charles. I'm going to actually just edit the availability for Charles for that day now, just to take out that availability. Of course, I could have just clicked the select all button. Now that that's changed, back on this report, if we refresh, and I'll just get rid of my menu, of course, Charles has no availability, so that's kind of messing with that at the moment, but let's bring that up. So we now see that he's no longer available. He is still allocated a game. Now, the way to correct that, and I'll just change my report again to hide any zero availability. The other report that's important to use at this time, particularly when you're starting out and going throughout the day allocating, even if you are using the intelligent appointment system, is to have a look at the appointment conflicts report. This will give you a view of any errors that may be found. So in this case, we actually see that it's highlighted that Adam is not available at that particular time, but is allocated a game. It's also actually picked up a couple of others, which we weren't necessarily seeing. Sorry, it's actually picked up Charles as well, is the one that I was meaning to highlight here. So it's picked up both the errors that we had witnessed in the other report, as well as another error there that I wasn't yet highlighting. So this is another crucial report to use throughout the day, and also early on in the day, to make sure that you're picking up any errors, as well as picking up and identifying anyone that has not arrived at the event yet, particularly if you use that check-in, check-out kind of concept, and then update people's availability as per that throughout the day. Now that we've taken a look at some of the techniques that we recommend people use when managing large-scale events, we hope that your event runs smoothly